Coming up next is The Actors by Actors Show. Today's episode is sponsored by Motion Pictures Imaginary Studios, creating film art for filmmakers.
Ladies and gentlemen, meine Damen und Herren, Mesdames et Messieurs, Senioras y Señores, Panie i Panowie, I'm Arek Zasowski, and this is The Actors by Actors. Tonight, I'm joined by a very special guest, an actor and Grammy-nominated art director, Paul A. Taylor. Let's have a look at a few clips.
No way, there is no way. There's no way I'm hiring a waitress as my PA. Have you lost your mind?
Come on, since when you care about what she does? And who is always saying your present circumstances do not determine your future, huh?
Yeah, alright, you've got a point, but that was a completely different context.
Right.
Anyway, look, I'm at the theatre right now. I'm watching a play, so I can't really talk.
You're kidding me, you're flirting in the theater.
I'm not really flirting. Anyway, you should get yourself down here. Meet some culture. Meet some really nice people. Speak to you later. So let me get this straight, just so I understand it completely. You met her at a coffee shop where she deliberately spilled water on your dick.
Accidentally.
Okay, she accidentally spilled water on your dick. Just to piss off her boss, who, by the way, fired her for doing so. Then she has a complete breakdown, and now you're telling me she's great and she'd be perfect as my PA. Have you lost your mind completely?
She has something in her. She knows how to handle difficult customers, take orders.
What, like spilling water all over them?
Listen, it's just publishing and she desperately needs a job. Plus, you've always liked people who have a character.
No way. Look, I'm sorry, there's no way. There's no way I'm hiring her. Look, would you trust her on one of your expeditions?
It's not the point. You owe me one, Jeff. Do you remember how I came back to New York to help you out?
You helped me out. You helped me out.
Yeah.
After Gemma and I called you, what, like 1,000,000 times?
Welcome, Paul. Thank you for joining us tonight for this exciting third episode of The Actors by Actors Show.
Arek, thank you so much for having me on. Third episode, very impressive. Real pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Paul. We are moving forward slowly but surely, as some people say. Paul, I still remember that day, one of my very first acting classes with Valerie Dent at the Bishopsgate Institute, great acting coach in London. Do you remember? What a different world that was.
Arek, of course I remember it. Nobody forgets when they meet you for the first time. And of course, I have the original cast list here. I don't know if you remember the play that we did. Unfortunately, you couldn't finish all the rehearsals and had to be the radio announcer. A radio announcer there. I was Moon. And we did the real Inspector Hound. It was great, it was a riot, it was fun. And, you know, working with Valerie is always interesting, and it was a very interesting group of people that we got to work with. I'm sure you'll agree with that.
Yes, I agree. We've always worked with very interesting and talented people. Paul, since then we've done 3 films together, and I also remember I saw you a couple of times on stage, so I know you've done a number of plays. Can you tell us more about your acting and what motivated you to go down this path?
I love acting. I love that interaction with people. I love the rehearsals. I love just that bouncing off people. You know, even when you're just in rehearsal and you're doing some improv to try and come up with how you're going to approach a character, how you're going to approach a particular scene. It just gives me a real fire when we're doing it.
If you could compare film or theatre, do you have your favorite?
I mean, theatre every time for me. There's no comparison. I love the way that you feel exposed and there's nowhere to escape. I love the fact that you can't redo or go and redo the take. I mean, they're obviously both very different. There's a lot more subtlety to film, but just being able to immerse yourself into a different world, a different mindset, and just go on there and be exposed, be basically naked on stage. So always theatre for me.
By the way, thinking about it, especially theatre, what is your technique to learn the lines?
Well, it's not so much learning the lines I actually find too much of a problem. That's, you know, you read it and you run through them. But if you can understand the story, which is where I start off, you getting to understand the story, the character, the motivations of the character, then I find that the lines come quite easy. And that's when it becomes fun, because you're there and you're playing with how the lines run, how they're said, how they're, you know, the nuances of the delivery. So, yeah, I mean, I don't have a trick to learning the lines. I just understand. I like to understand the story, the character, find the motivations, and then I find it all kind of comes together quite easily.
If you had a magic wand and could cast yourself in a dream film or dream play, what would that be?
Oof. That's a tough one. Well, I think if I could do anything, if I had a magic wand, this magic wand you're talking about, Eric, if I had that, I would love to play anything directed by Lynch in the theatre. Anything.
Where do you see your acting career going from now?
I'd like to continue doing some small theatre work, maybe working on some more short films. I don't particularly want to run off to Hollywood or start taking roles as a full-time actor. For me, it's just getting something that feels spontaneous and interesting. So if I can do that, if I can keep going and working with people that interest me, that's the next stage of my career. That's the next stage that I want to be. That's something that's pushing me. That's what's interesting, and that's where I want to see it going.
I know that acting is not your only creative outlet, and that you've been working within the music industry for the last 30 years, working with leading independent label Mute as the art director for a lot of that. And recently you were nominated for a Grammy for your work with Depeche Mode. Congratulations on that. Can you tell us more about this creative side of your life?
Well, thanks, Arek. Yeah, it was a huge honour for me to be nominated for a Grammy this year. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, it was I didn't get to go to a ceremony in America, but it was a thrill. It really was. But I was just a small part of a big team. obviously the band, hugely influential in how this came across. The band's management, the great team at Sony, people like Anton Corbin. You know, it was a huge, big production, and I was just a small cog in it. And you know, I've been lucky enough to work in music for the past 30 years. I get to work with Mute and work with Daniel Miller every day, which is, you couldn't write that, you know. And I get to work with inspiring artists and colleagues. It's a very good way to spend your day.
Very impressive. Now, given your diverse experience, what advice would you give to a new actor, artist, musician, or band on how to succeed in this business? I believe that the principles are similar.
You have to want it. You have to really, really want it. You have to work hard. There's no point in just relying on your talent. You've really got to put that time in. You've really got to push what you're doing. That is the fundamental part of any success in any of the creative, any of the arts. And you have to decide really early on if you want to compromise or not. Either's fine if you want to compromise, or if you don't want to compromise, but you need to make that decision really early on. And then you got to go through and just be true to yourself and keep pushing and keep doing it. A success is making a living out of doing your art. If you can get to your pension age, 80, 90, whatever age you want to stop working, and you've managed to spend your life, look back and see, okay, I've spent my life doing what I love doing, creating my art, being who I want to be. That is a success. It's not about looking back and thinking, oh, I was on this billboard, I was on this successful show, I had this top 40 hit. It's not about that. It's about being able to go in, look at yourself and think, this is what I do. This is what I do every day. This is my life. That is a success. So you got to work hard. And also, just don't be a dick.
If you were able to meet your younger self, what one piece of advice would you give yourself?
What one piece of advice would I give myself? Keep a diary for sure. Keep a diary and be a legend.
Fascinating. Thank you for your honest answer, and thank you for coming on the show tonight, Paul.
It's a pleasure, Arek. Thank you so much for having me. And it's just a shame that we can't be in the studio together. But hopefully, see you soon, work with you again soon, and you know, let's look forward to the day when we can all kind of mix together and get out of this mess.
Yes, I look forward to that too. Now, before we go, can you share one of your favorite quotes with our viewers?
I certainly can. This is one of my favorite quotes. There is nothing. 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 Then there is something! There is nothing. 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 Then there is something! Ad infinitum. And of course, everyone loves the Eagles.
Fascinating, Paul. Thank you for joining us tonight. Have a great evening. I wish you all the best.
Arek, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on. 3rd episode. I look forward to watching more. I look forward to watching the 333rd episode. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks.
Paul A. Taylor, everyone.
Bring joy. tune. In a world that's so imperfect, every word you say is music. You should change your name to beautiful. You should change your name to beauty and make tears impossible. I wish that I could have you with me every time I fall. In a world that's so imperfect, I know you will try to fix it. You should change your name to beautiful.
Coming up next,